Mike here from the Amish of Ethridge, and today I want to make a video that I'm not really sure how to make this one because it makes you kind of use the wrong word. It's almost like a verb or an action tense or something, and it's how do you Amish? It's terrible English, I get that, but we all know the sentimentality of it is how do I go Amish effectively? Or maybe I should say best practices or something like that. And it might become part of a miscommunication with maybe somebody else. Like I'm from Ethridge and everybody knows how to Amish effectively there, but it might not be a best practice. It might be one of those things that, well, that's just the way we've always done it, right? And I don't really know how to make this particular video because it presupposes a few things, and I have no idea that you, the listener, has any one of those. So use it as a checklist if you've got something what I perceive as right, and don't think that because you do something else that it's necessarily wrong. Okay, so I don't want to make it to be like, well, my views align with his, therefore I'm correct or more correct than this person that lives down the road. I don't want to do that. I mean, if you're going out and you're having a good time and the Amish are selling you things, then that's fine. Just keep doing what you're doing. But I want to kind of talk about, as I got myself a little notepad, hopefully I'll stay on it because sometimes I run off at the mouth, and I want to stay in on this one because it is kind of important. It also answers the question of why don't you give more addresses? If you've always wondered, well, I bet he's holding back on us, not telling us where the good stuff is. And that's not true at all. There's like 330 Amish families. If you come often enough and you drive far enough around, it wouldn't take you too long to pretty well visit every Amish family. So you would know everything I know. And because I did, at one time I had visited every single Amish home and tried to figure out what they had. Kind of had this little list. Like I say, I would or Josh would. Together we've pretty much seen it. And there's some new places that are coming up. Like, for example, they are expanding into some sections, but there's not signs up. There's homes being built. There's mills that are starting to open, and there's not really a sign up yet. So I'm kind of waiting those out just to I don't want to push people, you know what I mean? So far I've went around to every single Amish home and I would write down kind of what they had, and it would be wrong. So, for example, there was some times I would pull up and I would ask about, well, you're going to have this, produce section. And a lot of times they will, you know what I mean? And, but sometimes they would get into, like this one guy, he always made he always made baby cribs, baby stuff, and now he won't touch one. He only makes cabinets. And it was like, come on, guy, I thought you were... No, I decided to go a different direction. And so if I told everybody what they did, it would be wrong. And it got to where I was wrong more than I was right sometimes. So I don't really like to give out too many addresses because I don't really know if they're going to have it all the time, because people tend to write on a notepad, this is where the guy has the thing. Now, if you've been doing it for 30 years, then it's probably good to go. But I don't think everybody's into getting a tarp shop or a leather work or a wheel factory, you know what I mean, or a poly furniture or something like that. So for the rest of you guys that want an address, because and this is getting in the good parts, all right? If you're trying to get an address so you can treat the Amish like a store, that is what I'm going to guard against. There's a reason I guard against it, okay? And it's because if I know I can just go to a box store, you know what I mean, and I can just get what I need, because that's so ingrained of our, box stores that we have today, that you sort of copy and paste that onto the Amish. So you end up going to the same places every single time. And that's not really how you Amish. that's actually the way you would shop at a store. So it treats the Amish like a store, which sort of like devalues them a little bit, which is going to come up later. A lot of Amish people have talked to me this year, and it was not good. So let's talk about something that we English people seem to have more. I guess let me just say it. We're more familiar with, and that is the yard sale. Oh, I know you all have done that. You've got the paper and you've circled all the ones that have your kid clothes, or like for me, 3X tall, because I'm like a big fat guy, and I'm just, I just know, or like shop tools or something, and you want to hit those up. And what do? As a yard sailor, you pull up there at like 5:13 or whatever, and you're looking, because there's this concept of the early bird gets the worm. And while it is true in a yard sale to some degree, and we all know who's put on a yard sale, that about 5:13 in the morning, you're still asleep and somebody's honking their horn out there wanting you to hurry up. They got a magazine or not a magazine, a newspaper full of circled addresses. And they don't have time for you to sit in there and not give us the go, right? And that makes a real bad buyer-seller relationship. But, once you get your junk sold or you buy somebody else's stuff, that's probably the end of that sale for a while. You're probably not going to have just a whole bunch of people always showing up to your house to look for your yard sale stuff. So that it's finite. With the Amish, a lot of people treat them as if they're going to a yard sale. And that's wrong. That is totally wrong. Now, of course, the earlier you do go, the better chances that somebody hasn't bought it up. You know what I mean? I'm going to give you that one. I think we've all pulled in there where there was a van, and we just went to the next home because that van was going to stock. They were going to buy the whole Amish family out of pretty much everything they have so they can put it up in a grocery store somewhere north or south of us. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you treat the Amish like a yard sale and you want to be that early bird, you're going to get there and there's not going to be anything at the stand. Because the Amish, this is what they do. They get up, they have breakfast and everything else, and sometimes the other people will be in the fields and all that sort of thing, that are basically getting things that morning to put in their stands. So they have to get up, do their everyday chores, and that's what I'm saying. They like to eat as a family, do things as a family. They're doing their chores, and then somebody pulls up the stand and starts honking the horn or something. And it's like, come on, I haven't even got my stuff ready, and you're out there honking. So remember this when it comes to Amishing. The early bird never gets a worm. It's everything that they want is still in the field. And they'll be pretty upset if you make them go out there and get something. You know what I mean? Just so you can go to the next one and tap on your wrist. So remember that one. Also, hold on, before I go into that. About 8 to 9 a.m. is pretty safe when it comes to the summertime, vegetation, the fruits. What I'm saying is basically the produce and the watermelons, all that sort of stuff. In the summer growing season, you could pretty much count on about 8 to 9 having something in the stand, okay? Don't try to go before that. It's usually never a good idea. For those that's got milk, of course, you have to call it pit milk. But anybody that goes through and gets that kind of stuff, they'll usually have that in a thing of water, so it'll be good. And of course, you'll have to bring your coolers and all that sort of thing. But you already know who you are if you're that person. But so those I can kind of understand a little bit because they get milked first thing in the morning, and that's kind of that's not what most people do. But just don't treat them like a yard sale. All right. like I say, the early bird does not get a worm at all. It's all sitting in the field. You didn't give them time to do their normal chores and start pulling vegetables for that day. That's ripe, because you can't just start going through there cutting everything. You have to take what's coming up, what's right. They'll let things sit for a day or two until it gets to the proper size, and then they'll cut it, and then they'll put it in the stand. Also, the dinner time for them, usually around 6 o'clock, 6, 7 in there. That's when they go in to eat as a family, and you're not family, okay? Don't be going in there because the sun is starting to dip down. It's 8:10 or something at night, honking your horn or looking around, walking around trying to see what's still over there. Well, it's still daylight. Come on, serve me. That's really, really rude. You know what I'm saying? So don't go so long in the evening. So I tell everybody about 5. All right, that if you cannot get there at 5, and you know the family maybe 6, but do not go after 6. Okay. Try to get an off day. You know what I mean? Try to send somebody else. Possibly, we're going to talk about that too, so that they can eat as a family. You know what I mean? They got a bunch of kids. They all pitch in. They all do stuff. They'll holler for the guys to come in. The boys will all come in, and then they'll be eating something, talking, and then somebody's walking around outside. They have to go send one of the kids or something out there. Like, what does he want? I'm trying to eat here, and just respect them. You know what I mean? We're at their houses. Let's just respect them. When it comes to this, when do I arrive? When do I leave? So you got basically from 8 till 5. And so that's kind of what I would say was good Amishing hours. So this is going to rub a lot of people. Well, I think a lot of people agree with this one. And because they are kind of a different culture, they see themselves as apart from the world. That's why there's always going to be a line, basically, where the Amish world is here and then the English world is here. They might like you, but you are not Amish, you know what I'm saying? And because of that distinction, a lot of people start just shouting at them to give them a better price. You know what I mean? I can get it down at the Save a Little or something, or I can go to this place and they've got a sale down here and you should match that sale. They're not interested in that. They kind of know what they need to get out of the melons, the squash, the zucchinis, and a lot of times you can buy stuff. And if you ever catch, a guy on the side of the road with a bunch of tomatoes he doesn't want to have to take home, sometimes you can say, hey, look, $3 and I could take it all. And sometimes they'll do it. I've done it and wish I hadn't have done it. Man, I ate tomatoes for seemed like a year. They went bad. I couldn't eat them. Oh, I just couldn't. Because one day I happened to catch a guy and he was just like, had a bunch of tomatoes. And I said, I'll give you $3 for all that. And there was a tray underneath it. And oh my, I didn't think I'd ever quit eating tomatoes. So anyway, so if you say something, make sure it's your word. Now, a lot of you guys that come in here trying to find a wholesaler, you're going to find that they're not going to drop their price. I don't care if you buy 1,000 of them. That's why the produce or the Plowboy produce auction exists, is so they can auction it, because they believe that God will fetch them the price they need. And if that day they lose a little or gain a little, that's just the way it just is. The way they perceive religion is a little bit different than the way you perceive that same religion. So in the Bible, where they would draw straws, the lot would land on a particular fellow, and it was just settled. And sometimes that auction type thing is what they like, because they believe that nothing happens for, or they believe basically this. They believe everything kind of happens for a reason, and at that time, the reason the price didn't go up and down is something else, and they're cool with it. So they kind of prefer the auction. So if you're going to go in and you're going to say, I want to find a big couple bushels because I got a store up here and I'm going to stock that store and put Amish vegetables so all the English come to my place, they're probably not going to give you that good of a deal at their farms that you think they will. So I would say quit going in there and badgering them for better prices, and getting all rude, because there's been a lot of Amish people that said the English come here and they are so rude. And a lot of them have said they're not doing stands, they're just sending everything to the plowboy auction, because it's somewhat anonymous then. It's just you buy this thing, you bet on 50 bushels of things that goes on an F-class truck, and it goes to the store. Some people come from other states even to get in on the plowboy auction. Now, if you do want to do this, find you a few people, all right, that are with you, a family that likes to can, that you're going to make a year's worth of salsa a piece, and then together you go in. Just divide it up. You know what I mean? After you get home. So if there's 5 of you that go in and you buy this, truckload of stuff, then divvy it up. You know what I mean? And you're probably going to get a pretty good deal. Sometimes you could buy from a wholesaler that just bought a big list. Now that's technically a parking lot kind of deal, but we all know it kind of goes on. I'm not saying do that, but I'm just saying certain things happen in between things. So, and the Amish don't care. They're like, he bought it. They can do whatever they want with it. It's your tomatoes or green beans or something like that. So if you do decide to do a bunch of bulk stuff, just go to the plowboy auction. Going over here and badgering a bunch of ladies into giving you a better price just because you can get up in their face, that's not being a very good human. And a lot of them have told me that there's a lot of people that have been screaming at their face. So don't do that, please. Now, I want to move on to something. Also, for the people who do go in the communities and they do find these stands, these driveways are not really made for a lot of people. Now, I've got nearly 41,000 followers. I've reached in single post almost 2 million accounts. And I have watched and I've been like, oh dear, what have I done? What have I done here? Because I've watched people pile in to an address when I've told them where to go. It was on a Saturday. Now, if you've been to the Amish country on a Saturday, you know that sometimes you're in it's like a string of ants. It's just 6 feet between cars, and there's, 100 of them going. And I'm sorry, you know what I mean? I did this to help, but it sure has hindered some people. So when I say an address has something, and then everybody says, oh, it's over here, and then everybody starts going in there, and they park all just crazy. It was it was terrible. And the people who were at the front, who just rang out, can't get out, and the people that were at the back, just parking wherever they can, they're walking to the front. So that means somebody in the back's going to have to ring out, which means the people in the front, see what I'm saying, are just sitting in their cars waiting for all these people to move out, because there's bumper to bump and they pull sideways. Also, do not park out in the road. I think we've all been to these yard sales, and we've seen people park crazy, and sometimes just out in the road. They'll just stop and walk up there. Don't do that either, okay? I'm not sure how to help. Try to go during the week if you can at all. Go. Take some people with you, possibly. You know what I mean? Any way you can sort of not all go on Saturday. You know what I mean? Try to do that, because it's getting really, really congested in certain parts. Usually where the wagon ride went. Now the wagon ride is suspended for the year, probably. Diane didn't say it would last all year, but there is some problems that they're having that I don't know how they're going to get out away from, because a lot of it's not them themselves. It's some people that are connected to them. And I'm not sure how that is going to play out. But I know that the wagon ride tours have been open for about 30 years. It's going to continue. When they get through this little spell thing that they've got going, or some other people kind of take in I'm trying not to say too much because, if you tell me not to say something, I'm not going to say it. But I'm trying to tell everybody, just keep your eye on their page. I'm sure once it all comes up, that they'll have it back open again, all that sort of thing. But I don't know how they're gonna. I don't know how they're gonna keep the tours in the condition that they're. It has nothing to do with finances, any of that stuff. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that this is a problem that they didn't see coming. Has nothing to do with animal cruelty and all that sort of thing, because I know everybody's watched those documentaries, and let's face it, a lot of those documentaries are wrong. And that's why I pull out, things about, if you can show me some of this where it happens, I'll go up there and film it with my own camera and put it on my page. So far, no one's been able to do that, and I don't think they will. There was only been one guy. This is going on a whole. I'm supposed to stay on topic. Okay, fine. There was one guy that had a lot of dogs. They thought he had somewhat of a puppy mill, and even one of the guys here said, "Oh yeah, we kind of had to go give him a talking to." You know what I mean? And that's in the middle of the night. You got about 20 Amish buggies pull up in your place. I'm not going to tell you the rest, but you get the message. They definitely have a way of policing themselves. But anyway, so he didn't really have a mill per se, but it was just a whole lot of dogs. And there's still some of them that do breeding, but just about every trailer somewhere has more dogs than them that can sell them for way cheaper. So most of the time, you'll find it harder and harder and harder to find Amish breeders of certain dogs. All the dogs that I've seen seemed like very well taken care of. Now, my daughter almost got bit by a dog. I will say that. She's autistic, and she don't realize that going up and hugging a dog close range from a stranger will get you bit. I don't care if you can have a millionaire dog. You know what I mean? It's just an animal. It's going to react. I had to tell her, no, don't just hug Amish dogs, or any dog for that matter. Just went up behind it and just wrapped it up, and he was like, arr, Anyway, it's off topic too. All right. So don't park in the roads. Don't block people in as if you're playing Tetris, you know what I mean? Don't do that either. Also have cash and a trunk organizer. I remember a day I just threw stuff in the back, had to get on my brakes because of somebody pulling out. They were looking this way and pulling out that way and didn't realize it. And all my tomatoes come right up underneath my seat all the way to the pedals. And that was just wonderful. Yeah. So after that, I went and got a trunk organizer. It's got divisions, and especially if you go with somebody, you know what I mean? They've got a division, you've got a division, you know what I mean? That way you don't mix up everybody's stuff. They got what they got, you've got what you got, all separated. So that's always really good. And I guess all of this is to say, okay, if you've listened this far, thank you so much. Oh, obviously we're friends. Go ahead and like, subscribe, all that sort of thing. Follow us on Facebook. Oh, I would love that. If you remember anything from this conversation, and that is, to Amish is to hunt. Okay? Again, to Amish is to hunt. Everybody that's gone on here that has serendipitously went into a driveway because it said it had peas, and then you get to the stand and they have watermelon or whatever else, green peanuts or all this other stuff that you didn't know they had. You feel like, I've hit a gold mine. Look at all this stuff. It didn't say it on the sign because the signs don't always say everything. I know a tarp shop that has some of the best blackberry and blueberries, and it's because vines, they got a place and they grew vines and they grew up, but their main job is more constructive. And so some of the leather places, like Danny Zook, he has some of the best sweet potatoes right there on Long Road. It has a long driveway, it kind of goes up. Really good leather guy. And you would never think that this Amish leather worker has some of the best sweet potatoes, but he just happens to live on some land and just knows what he's doing. And there's so many of these little serendipitous places that you can go. So to Amish is to drive in their driveway, like I say, between 8 and 5, and just ask some people, say, what do all you got? Well, what are you looking for? Well, this and that. And that'll usually get you in these conversations. And sometimes they're really good about also, if you're looking for something in particular, to tell you where they are because they're Amish. They see themselves as not belonging to like me as my dressed. Okay, fine, dressed more like a Canadian Mountie right now instead of my other shirts and fedora. But anyway, that thing that I call me, the individual, is not quite how they see themselves. They see themselves as more, I'm a person that belongs to a community. And there's not as much individuality. The individual is not stressed, as much there. Now, of course, you still have to go do and be a provider for your family and all that stuff. You have a kind of a role, but the idea that you need to be an individual and get a tattoo and whatever, and, you know what I'm saying? That's not really a thing. They all dress the same in a way, if you think about it. So their strength is in their unanimity, so to speak. So to say, well, I need an Amish person to tell me about another Amish, they're usually really good about doing that. They'll tell you directions. And of course, sometimes it's like turn by the red barn that has an old tree where half of it's fell off, and that's fine. Or like most of you guys know, the big blue mailbox on McDowell, so there's some things that you just kind of know based on kind of Amish directions. I get that too. So to Amish is to hunt. Also, I want to talk a little bit about time. And I guess that's why most of us that are off on Saturday and Sunday, obviously Sunday is never a good day. Even on their off Sunday, they're not even going to come out to meet you if you pull up. Clear out enough time. You know what I mean? Don't try to put all of your Amish grocery shopping in an hour on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Because I believe you're going to be sad. You know what I mean? So make sure that you have the time to go out. If you wanted a bunch of things, you could obviously go to a different store and buy them. What I'm saying is that if you're going to come here to do the Amish experience, I would rather you take hours on end to really visit them and talk to them and all that sort of thing. I don't care if you go to, I don't care if you go to any of those little places that I mentioned on their page, because the more heartfelt thing that you're feeling to sort of connect to this other culture is going to be done with communication with them directly. So, like you wouldn't go to a friend that you haven't seen in a long time that you really like. I'm not saying a friend that's like Facebook friend or something. I'm saying a friend that you grew up with and you want to catch up, and you wouldn't come up to him and say, "Hey, I haven't seen you in like 26 years. You got 2 minutes and 26 seconds to tell me all about what's going." Oh, that'd be highly disrespectful. So make sure to clear up enough time to really get out there. Also, tend to reward yourself. Now, I understand finances is tight, you know what I mean, all that sort of thing. You've watched me from last November and December try to die on the table again. I got brain tumors. I got all kinds of crazy stuff. If this is the first time we're meeting, so thank you if you watched up to this part, or you're into this, you've just now connected to this video. You know what I mean? Try to reward yourself. I always push Heine's because Heine's is the place we put group travel. Like if I get a tour bus that's called me and said I want to take a group to see the Amish, what do? They can seat people and they can cook for them in a mass amount. Of course, I have to tell them beforehand, or else they're going to be out of fries or something. You know what I mean? It's going to deplete a lot of their kitchen. It's also going to require a lot of staff, and they're going to have to kind of prepare. But I kind of push them because they're kind of my good way to put a tour bus or a ladies group or a men's group or something, or a men's and ladies group, I don't know, together at one place so they can eat all at once. So I always kind of push Heine's for that. Now, of course, Bob's Cafe. Most of you guys call them Bob's Burgers. It's not. It's like that's the TV show, but Bob's Cafe is really good. Ike's Amish Depot and General Store. They cook on Saturdays. That's where you can get the like half-inch thick bologna sandwich, which is a Southern favorite, And always get the double decker, which I think it's called something like a double patty burger. It used to be called the double decker, and a lot of you guys go in for their milkshakes and all that stuff. Now, the Butterbean Cafe is also open seasonally, typically winter. He used to open up a couple days on the summer, but it just got to where it was dead. And he had a lot of food that just never got sold during the summer because everybody's, vacationing a little bit and you're just not stopping by. So a lot of times you'll only find him open during the winter time. And of course, the Hitching Rail is a pretty good place for breakfast, and they'll open up again. Randy actually also goes to the Laurel Hill Lake where they'll cook fish and all that sort of thing, so he definitely knows his fish. Of course, Marshall's Grocery, they have a bar in the back. You can order chocolate gravy. If you've never had chocolate gravy, it's an interesting experience. I grew up in Ethridge, so for me, it's like, that's chocolate gravy. But as a diabetic, I can't have it, so that's something that you might want to look into. So there's a few places. Of course, Schaefer's, celebrities go there. Those guys that came with the Bill Dance and some of the fishermen came in or country music stars too. They'll come in a helicopter. Like if you're a place where people come see you in a helicopter, it's pretty good food. You know what I mean? Jelly Rolls here just a few days ago, I believe. Anyway, so there's a lot of people that come to see Amish country. That's not just, us. They've definitely got some people that have, they're household names. They've came through just to see what it's all about. So if they're coming, it's kind of a segue to the very end. And I've met people from all over. Actually, I got to go find. Like I say, the people come from all over the world. Literally, there's a guy that does. He's kind of a wood turner. As far as an Amish man, wood turner, and a man from New Zealand that owns a fishing expedition. So you go down there and you'll catch all these big old fish and stuff because it's an island, so it's pretty much fishable all the way around. He came up here and stopped at the Amish, bought some things, wants some more of it. He wants to talk to him, and he forgot to write his address, which is something to keep in mind. Is as you're going, you might meet people from just all over. So I have to go find this guy's address and then send him the address and basically kind of work as the Amish intermediate sometimes. A lot of this is why I keep it kind of going too, is that a lot of people have got a hold of me so that I can get a hold of the Amish so that I can kind of tell them what to do. But no matter what I say, the Amish are gonna be like, look, I don't even like what you do a lot of times. But they know that there's the way the English do things is not the same way that the Amish do things. So what I do a lot of times, if you always wondered what it was, I'm going to tell you, is that sort of intermediate area where they can get a hold of me that can give them the right Amish to go to. Like you've seen Joe Yoder, he does the big, like the old wagon west or the western, these big I don't know what you'd call them, like a big wagon, you know what I mean? He makes that stuff. He makes buggies. He makes goat carts and stuff like that. Yeah, you literally get a little cart and it's pulled by a goat. It's really good for kids, and the goat seems to not care. They just pull donkey carts. All them guys, they'll put two people. It'll ride. Simple axle. Takes nothing to pull it. You know what I mean? And he'll make that kind of stuff. But a lady wanted one of these because she had a funeral place. And where she lived had a lot of cowboy kind of people. So it was, in a way, kind of a hearse. And I thought that was so interesting that they would pull you like the old-fashioned way, you know what I mean? Since they can make caskets, this is kind of a circular thing here. And I thought, okay, well, yeah, you definitely need this guy, but she still has to be the one to talk to Joe. So I can't really go and do things in your behalf. You're still going to have to write them a letter or come in person, which is the best way to see them. So that's going to make all this pretty important if you're going to make a trip here. I'm not really talking to locals as much in this video. I'm talking to some people that are coming in and wanting to do this Amish adventure thing. So that's me. If there's something else you want to know, like for example, some people think that I get paid by the Amish. Not at all. Actually, they're not really good about ever advertising anyway. So I advertise other places that have a kind of a country mindset of things. Obviously, places like Lehman's would be great. Lodge would be great. I'm still trying to work on getting them to advertise with me because a lot of you guys are really interested in that kind of living, that old chuck wagon kind of stuff. And that's great, and that's what we want in a way, that you find somebody that's kind of with your value system and all that sort of thing, showing you products you probably never heard of. There's some things from, I think it's a company called Haas. It's like they have manual tools, you know what I mean? Because if you think about it, there's a lot of these weeder type things. If that motor goes out, it's just kaput. And we all know how warranties work and all that sort of. This thing, it's just like, no, I just buy the little thing, slap it back on here, and I can just keep going. If the handle breaks, go put another one on, screw it in. It just works. I love things that just work, and I would love for them to be a place that advertises on our channel. But I'm not ever going to, and I never will. I'll never go through and then try to solidify an advertising scheme so that I can sort of use my people as basically an advertising base. I think that's kind of wrong. You know what I mean? I never sell anything out. If you go on the Amish of Ethridge.com and you go on to the advertising section and all that stuff, I never sell any of that stuff. You know what I mean? And it's because since the beginning, you know what I mean, when I had a preemie baby and all that sort of thing, and we'd go on these Amish roads as nap rides, I would try to help, and I really did want to help, and it's still that way. Anybody that you see shared on our page, I will never send them a bill. They just get to go. They're just going to get free advertising. And this is for the English. So obviously the Amish are already getting anybody they share to, because there's no pathway to money. That's why you never see too many Amish or English people that have Amish pages and stuff like that. So why would there's no Amish that pay us? And it's because they really can't in that way, and I don't want them to. I want it to be very pure, and I want us to work together to make people happier. I've seen so many people come up and they were so happy to get Amish things that they've always wanted, simply because I pointed them in the right direction. They were very appreciative, and I want to keep that. My success is going to be predicated on the emails that say, I'm so glad I found your page because I finally found somebody that can, I don't know, make me a tarp for that covered wagon. You know what I mean? First guy on the left, I think it's like 23 Long Road. Oh, he's our tarp guy. I mean, there's some of them that make tarps, but as far as if you're looking for canvas, you're going to cover a wagon, you bought a buggy, you're doing something like that. Oh, he's just the best, when it comes to that. So, and there's some like him, and they're so appreciative because they've been looking for somebody to make this for a long time, and then I give them an Amish name, and they go meet them, and they're excited to get this project underway, and they finally get it, and it works out, and they're so happy. And that's what makes life really worth living. And that's why these celebrities, coming back to this list, that's why they're coming down here and checking it out. And I think maybe if we all take a note or two from the Amish, since they don't have any problem with working and caring for family, caring for each other, you know what I mean, all that sort of thing, self-sustainable in food. I think these are going to be topics that are going to be more important. A little shameless plug, I'm making some courses because I can't do the general things. So when I started scripting for some videos, it was very precise things that I needed explanation. So I will have a course on, well, actually 2 courses. one on the road trip aspect of, and it's the one I use. Been to 29 different states doing tourism-y things. I think I know a lot about it. Also been to Mexico. There in Matamoros. So even international stuff, I understand. When to get travel insurance, all this. We're going to break that down from a tourism professional's experience into a course so that you can go use that to, even if it's not to go see the Amish, it could be anywhere else you're going to need a road course. But also, whenever you do take that road trip, once you got here, do you understand what you're looking at? And I'm going to break that down into hopefully some really good videos. All right, not like this where I'm just blabbing. I mean, just with the green screen, as you see behind me. That's why the photos are changing, so that I can really nail down what it is to be Amish and Mennonite and of this persuasion, and how it has properties of the slow living, the gentle living, the different parenting movements, because there's other communal systems out there that kind of use something similar, and they usually have people that love it. And I want people to love being American and to have a simple life, and that not be a slam because we can't use technology of a certain kind. I'm surrounded by stuff. If you came in here and you looked at all this stuff, there's a price of a house in here. That's why I have security if you ever come to my houses, all over the place. So the cops have even been here. So there was an issue with the door. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody came in. There was just a thing where the thing I have. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but anyway, whatever happens to a latch or something, it automatically gets the cops. Even if you knock out the power and cut the internet, it still has a thing that goes over Wi-Fi or 5G. Anyways, it's the whole thing. But anyway, I really want people to live that kind of, or at least consider a certain kind of life for a type person whose job is to sit 6 feet away from the next car, bumper to bumper traffic every day. You know what I mean? That says, I want out of here, but how do I do this? Could I do this? That's the kind of person that I want to get a hold of my courses. Like I say, they're going to be lower amount, but still, there's probably not a whole lot of money to it, but I still have to pay for things that host the videos, that securely do things, and then also if you buy it, that routes the email forwarding so that you get a code that gets you in, and then it lets you, it's a course platform, you know what I mean? But I guess I've gotten to the point where I am the Mr. Miyagi, I guess, where Daniel's son gets to the point he can become the master. And I'm not saying I'm a master of it, it's just I think I've gotten to the point where I can really affect somebody life to the point to where they can really do something effectively and have steps that they can go on to make a certain lifestyle choice happen for them. I'm not saying that I'm trying to make anybody Amish. Obviously, that's not the case. I will never be Amish. I love electricity and I love my life. But when I got close to becoming dead in 2014, it was pancreatitis that went wrong. They had to call in family and everything else, and I woke up going, wow, I lived. And oh man, and it's happened like 4 different times also. So once I had heart surgery, and for 3 hours and 52 minutes, they cut me up pretty good. And then finding out all this other stuff. I have a short shelf life, and there's some things you just think about whenever you do have this happen to you. So I think I've got a perspective that I've kind of massaged for about a year, and I'm really going in for it now. And I'm going to make these 2 courses. And there's probably going to be some more of some kind. But a lot of it has to do with slow living. You know what I mean? Things are moving really fast. There's a lot of things happening in the economy. So I'm talking through some things with some other professionals about economic stability, food, sustainability, all that sort of thing. So we're going to We're going to jar. We're going to do a lot of things in the kitchen. A lot of the Amish have given me so many tips. That's so good about some of this is that there's so many tips that I've gotten from my Amish and Mennonite friends that they've given me that I'm going to pass on to you guys through through these courses. And I don't know. I, I I don't know what to say really, but I've seen so many people just come alive when they've got the chance to get in a buggy. Sometimes you can meet an Amish person and say, "Can I ride your buggy?" And sometimes the 14 or 15-year-old kids will be like, "Come on," especially if you give them a 20 or something, because that's in their age where they start getting to keep their own money, which is a separate thing. If you're a little bitty, smaller kid, you have to give your dad the money because it's a long ordeal. But anyway, they'll sometimes ride you, and it's kind of fun to watch people's face when they get back into the parking lot, like, "Oh my goodness, that was cool! I got to ride." And I've watched people get to pull on the cow's udders, and they would look like, "Oh my, I did not think this is what this felt like." I grew up on a farm, so I've watched a lot of it, and so it's fun to watch people take up the farm experience a little bit and say, "You know what, I could see myself doing this, but how am I going to get out of this city? I'm so invested here, and my kids don't have the same things. They're going to rebel, if you put them from city life into country life." And I'm like, "No, not necessarily." And so a lot of the course has to do with that. I'm not gonna ruin it for everybody, but I'm kind of doing my own shameless plug. This is kind of how I get money, is stuff like this. I don't do anything else except, of course, my machine job and all that sort of thing, engineering. Um, but I'm just tired. I don't know. I'm rambling, so I will say this. You know what I mean? Let's go through the list. If you've been here this long, obviously we're friends. If you've watched this to the very end, and I would love for you to subscribe. Tell other people about our stuff. You know what I mean? So they can go on, even if they don't even like the Amish things. Sometimes they're like curious about why they do certain stuff, and hopefully on the Amish and Mennonite Tennessee page, I'll do a lot more of that. That's probably where this is going to go. It's the Amish and Mennonite page, because that's where the plain peoples, that's what they want to be called, kind of have a lot of the same things in there. So I talk about the Amish and Mennonite page and the Amish of Ethridge almost synonymously, but it is true that the other one I do include more Mennonites, and where this kind of comes in. So if you do go to an old order Mennonite community and you get there and there's a vegetable stand, it's probably going to have a lot of people moved in all Tetris styled, so that people can't get out. So let's not do that. Let's not think of them like a yard sale. You know what I mean? I understand that the early bird does not get a worm, that the dinner time meal does not include us, so don't go too late. 8 to 5, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. is the best time to go. Of course, the better price will, I put in here, I said the better price will need you to be nice. So if you go in there, start yelling at them that you can get that tomato down the road for, I don't know, 5 cents cheaper, and how you should match that, that's probably not gonna help you much. Don't park all crazy, you know what I mean? Also, don't park on the road. Have cash and a trunk organizer. To Amish is to hunt, you know what I mean? That's what we talked about. Stop at each place and learn how to ask the Amish where else I can get whatever that I'm looking for, and clear out enough time so that you can go hunting. Find somewhere good to eat so that you can sort of like celebrate the day. You know what I mean? We live in a world where people shoot deer rifles at dirt or at ducks. They drive with their phone. They're watching movies, and and then sometimes our own medications can just get you. There's just so many things that we have to worry about to get dead. I mean, I don't want to sound too morbid, but how many times have you seen on the news where they had to recall all this stuff off the shelf because it had some kind of like weird listeria or something on it? I don't know. You know what I mean? I thought, when can you trust food sometimes? And stuff like that. So when you go out, try to celebrate the day in some other way that you can. And also enjoy it and have fun. And if you've watched this long, I'm so sorry. I got these little steno notepads, and I try to keep myself on track, but it's hard for me sometimes to keep on track. So if you wonder something else, be sure to put that in the comments. You know what I mean? Go on our Facebook, message me if you want to know some more. I usually respond pretty well, or Josh or Tara. Together we make up the Progeny Adventure Group that owns the Amish of Ethridge, Amish and Mennonite of Tennessee, Visit Lawrenceburg, TN, all those different things. There's like 20 something in there. And, it just happens to be that this one here is the Amish of Ethridge and Amish and Mennonite pages, or to deal with these kind of topics. So I want to kind of stay on topic as best I can, but I know a lot of these things spark other interest, and hopefully maybe you might have a question that makes another video just like this one. If you'd like to see if somebody else had left a question about that topic, you know what I mean, before in another video, be sure to go down and click on our name. And once you click on our name, it'll take you to our personal channel. In that channel, there'll be a little list where it'll show videos. When you click that video section, there might be another video that you like even better than this one. Hopefully I didn't ramble as much, but anyway, when you're with friends, you talk all the time, or listen, or a little bit of both. Anyway, hopefully I will see you in that next video, but not if you don't click it. So this is Mike Pilkington, and I'll see you guys hopefully in that next video.